Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how CEOs, founders, and senior executives sell their ideas, point of view, and personal brand to the people who matter most. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want to build market eminence, amplify your influence, and attract high-value prospects, investors, partners, talent, and media opportunities with less chasing and more confidence. Let's go. You're on LinkedIn and you're constantly being pitch slapped. That's right, my friends, pitch with a P. LinkedIn, oh my God, what's going on? What are you doing? Why are you doing it? We have a much better way, a much smarter way, not only in LinkedIn, but an entire sales philosophy. And Sophie Lechner has written a fantastic new book about this. Sophie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David, for having me on.
So this is really exciting. You have a fantastic book coming out called Unlock Your Impact. And tell me a little bit about your professional journey that brought you to the work that you're doing, and then we'll talk about what's in the book.
Yeah, so I was for 20 years in the corporate environment doing global marketing. And then I started my own business in 2012. It was helping business owners to do sales internationally. I made all the possible mistakes you can make in marketing. And the biggest one probably was that I was still in this corporate mindset of I didn't know it then, of course, but I can't quite be me entirely, right? Yeah. I have to put on this persona of what people want. And so the whole thing was, and I sadly didn't know, but the whole thing was flawed from day one, right? Now that I look back, right? Yeah. So then the pandemic actually helped me because it was the nail in the coffin for that business. Yeah. And it helped me to finally put it to bed, which was hard. You know, it's hard, your baby, right? And during the pandemic, so going back, I had been on LinkedIn from the beginning. I've always loved connections with people from my background being multicultural. And so I had developed this network on LinkedIn all this time. And so during the pandemic, I saw people around me, the other entrepreneurs who did not know how to use LinkedIn. And I said, well, you know, you can use LinkedIn. It's not, I mean, that hasn't gone away. And they're looking at me like, what do you mean? So I gave, 50 or 60 coaching sessions over a few months just for free to help people around. And people started coming back and saying, well, can I have more? Can you, can I pay you to give me more sessions? So that's a signal, right? So then I started a business as a LinkedIn coach. And this time I did not make the mistakes I made the first time. So I did everything the right way, not that there's a right way, but the right way for me. Right. And I've been having fun ever since. And that's the main thing.
And so the other thing, of course, that you're known for beyond the new book called Unlock Your Impact is the magnet model. Tell us a little bit about the magnet model and what you're doing with your clients and audiences with that. And then we'll jump into some of the goodies from the book.
Yeah. So the magnet model was something that came out from the work with our mutual good friend, Simon Bowen, who helps you to codify your genius or your method, your thinking, right? Your wisdom. And so as I was coaching my clients on LinkedIn, I came to realize, and people were telling me, you're doing so much more for us than just teaching us LinkedIn. So I was like, great. Oh, that's exciting. And then after a while, I was like, yeah, but okay. But what is it? What is it? So I went back and studied, developed the model, and it's extraordinary what having a framework with clear labels and dynamics between the pieces can do for your own thinking and then for the clarity of explaining it to other people. So that's what I have now. And it's a game changer. I mean, that's how I was able to write my book. And that's now what I apply with my clients.
I also have to mention the subtitle of your book, which is going to perk up everyone's ears. So it's called Unlock Your Impact, the Roadmap to Magnetic Client Attraction for Entrepreneurs Who Hate Marketing. Hate it. don't want to be pushy, don't want to be salesy, hate the idea of self-promotion, because we see so much of that. Like I said in the introduction, all the pitch slapping with everyone's program, everyone's products, everyone's services, and no one is being their genuine selves. And the world is full of sellers, and no one's a buyer in that universe. So talk a little bit about the central tenets of the model, and then we're going to get into some of the content and the meat that you've brilliantly put into this great book.
The key idea, okay, so I called it the magnet model because the whole thing about marketing and selling is that people think they have to push, right? It's all the pushy things like, oh, I have to put myself out there. I have to put the spotlight on myself. So the whole thing is about, no, it's not about finding clients. It's about helping clients to find you. So be who you are, develop yourself, and become magnetic so you attract your clients, right? And the three key pillars of the magnet model are mission, message, and movement. So mission is really about focusing your entire marketing around your mission, meaning what are you here to do? Who are you here to help, and how? And your offer, etc. And your uniqueness, your unique positioning. Why do you do what you do? What is your story that led you here, right? Then message is about deeply understanding your audience and helping them to even get to the point where they know what it is they need. And that's, I think, something that is very undervalued in the marketing world. It's like, you have this problem, I have this solution, let's meet up, but there's a whole process of people really even understanding what their problem is, because if they knew, they would have fixed it already.
Yeah.
So message is really around that. And then movement is partly, yes, let's make a movement. Let's talk about what it is we're here to help with, but it's also a mindset. It's helping the entrepreneur to stop seeing what they're doing as putting themselves forward, but really making their mission so important that they need to communicate it on a broad scale. So those are the main things.
Absolutely. And I love the way that you've broken this down into very catchy and also very concise exercises, activities, frameworks. So things like the storybook activity, the Cinderella test, the belief elevator, the clarity formula. Walk us through. I'm curious, when you teach this to your clients, what are the points of resistance? And maybe give me a couple from each of the three buckets. Mm-hmm. What are some of the points of resistance where they might say, for example, with mission, Sophie, nobody cares about my story. If I start telling my story and why I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm going to be one of these bloviating people out there that just is talking about themselves the whole time. And of course, that's not the point. That's not how that activity actually works. But what's some pushback that you get? And then what's some coaching that you would give a client to overcome that pushback?
Well, I find that, and this is my target audience I have chosen very carefully, right, are mission-driven entrepreneurs. So the lever with these people is they're caring. They care about their audience. Yeah. So you can I'm exaggerating, but you can make them do anything if it's in service of their audience, right?
For sure.
So a lot of times they have this inside of them, but they don't know they have a mission, for example. Some people say, well, yeah, I could see how you're selling to, mission-driven entrepreneurs. But I had a woman in a workshop one time. It's actually the stories in the book, but she's in this workshop. She's like, yeah, okay. But, I help people sleep better. How does that apply to me? I said, okay, let's, workshop it. And I asked her a couple of questions. And once she was able to see what her work enables her clients to do in the world, meaning they could have better impact and unlock their potential as women in the workplace because they could sleep better, all of a sudden she could see how this was a bigger mission, right? Like you're empowering everybody to fulfill their potential. So once I'm able to help people to see things from their own client's perspective, they have this love for their clients. They're able to get outside of themselves, and then they can just go for it. It unlocks. That's why I call it unlock your impact, because all the things I do with my clients, I'm not teaching them anything. They have it all inside of them.
Yeah.
It's helping them to unlock it.
Hey, super quick station break question. Have you seen our free executive briefing on elevating your CEO brand? Check it out right now at doitmarketing.com/webinar. And now back to the show. The other piece that you talk about in the book is this is not just about getting more clients or being more successful in sales conversations. I mean, you will get more clients and you will be more successful in sales conversations. Talk a little bit about the impact of all of this on referrals.
Yes. So there's a whole chapter dedicated to this, which is develop your champions. Often we talk to our audience and we help them address their problems. But it's very important for us to be able to explain what we do also to people who do not have the problem. Because once, like let's say 10% of the population has the problem you talk about, and then 90% doesn't. You're forgetting about that 90% who could be referring to you, who could have friends who have the problem, or even you can explain it to them in a way that they understand the impact, even if they don't know anybody specifically. And it's maybe not a referral to a person, a potential client, but they might be moved by the importance of your movement and talk about it just because it's something that's important. And then all of a sudden you have this visibility. That's the movement part of the book.
Yes, absolutely. Let me ask you, because there are, what I love about your book and about your approach is that this is new ideas and innovative ideas to solve old challenges, old problems. So I'm just going to maybe cherry pick a couple of these accelerators and needle movers, and I would love just kind of a quick take on how people can start with the help of your book, how they can help to start process this in their heads. So in the mission category, compelling vision is number one. I want to ask you about unique position, which is the second thing that you have people work on. If I'm a financial advisor, if I'm a management consultant, right? There's a million financial advisors. There's a million management consultants. I'm sure that, Sophie, people come to you and they say, Sophie, I would love to do this. There is nothing unique about my financial planning practice. There is nothing really unique at the end of the day about my management consulting. You and I know that's not true. How do we help them uncover that unique position that they themselves cannot see?
Yeah, I actually had a client who's a wealth manager and come to me, and I thought to myself, yes, a nice challenge. But yes, so when you start asking questions about when did this start for you? When did you first think about becoming this particular thing? And it could be a meandering path, as I mentioned in my book. Like it could have taken you, 20 turns along the way, but you go and you analyze that and figure out why did you become passionate about this? What is it about your story that made you become passionate? Because there's a million things we could be doing, right? So that this one thing that we've dedicated our life to has to be for a reason. And once you dig through and you can find that reason, and people often in our work together, they dig deeper and deeper with my questions, but they get emotional. And that's when you know that you've hit pay dirt, right? In terms of the story. And then when you can relate that story and make not the entire marketing, but your entire positioning is about who you are as a person. Everybody comes to a wealth manager not because of, their degrees, but because of who they are and because they care. And we all want that, regardless what the person is selling. So once you
Yes.
can touch that, develop the story and share it and center all your marketing around that, then that's it. You're special because nobody else has your story.
Yeah, so good. So good. I love the way that you frame that for people to work through their own storybook activity and find that golden thread, which you only see in retrospect, right? The people that have these patchwork careers that take all these different strange left turns, most people that have some evolved sense of self, they go, I had no idea I would end up here, but in hindsight, every one of those steps made me who I am today. But
Yes.
they don't externalize that. They talk about that with their best friend, or they talk about that in a coffee shop, but they don't use it in their marketing. And you're telling them, folks, it's time to use that in your marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it when somebody comes to me and say, oh, I don't know how we're going to do this LinkedIn profile. This is how I discovered all this, right? Just doing the 2,600 characters of the about section, how I discovered all this stuff.
Yeah.
So they tell me either, oh, I have so many twists and turns, so much experience. I don't know how I'm going to explain all of it. Or they come to me and they say, well, I have this activity and then I have this other activity that I'm doing, and they're so different. There's no way that it's going to make sense. I'm like,
Yes.
let's see. And then it'll make sense.
Yes, I love that. And I mean, you really, unlike so many books that, there'll be I'm sure you and I have read a million marketing books and sales books. You go into very clear, very concise, step-by-step detail. So for example, there's an exercise where we catalog the key turning points and decisions in our lives. And then you also say, okay, once you have that, that's the overall roadmap. Identify and I love the way you put this, identify the somewhat, in parentheses, straight lines. Identify the somewhat straight lines, and those are sort of the chapters, right? Those are the chapters of the book that we're all writing with our lives. And then, catalog the list of straight or straight-ish lines in your life, and then pattern recognition. So it's so funny. I had an interview with someone else, maybe this was a couple of weeks ago, and the way they introduce themselves, they also need to read your book, by the way, but the way they introduce themselves is they say, my work lies at the intersection of, and they listed 3 different things. I believe he said customer experience, digital marketing, and sales. And then there was a story behind how he got this domain expertise in those 3 overlapping areas. So the moment you're about to put this guy in a box, oh, he's a digital agency owner. Well, he didn't say that. He says, my work lies at the intersection of domain 1 plus domain 2 plus domain 3. So it sort of puts you in a category of 1.
Yeah, and I love that, the intersection, because it helps people to, you don't want to be in a box, but at the same time, you need shortcuts for people to understand quickly. You can't have a whole novel to tell people who you are. So this idea of intersection of this, and this helps people to get a quick picture.
Yes.
And at the same time, we're all at the intersection of a gazillion things, right? So that is finding that intersection and simplifying it so it's communicable.
Now, another thing that is easier said than done, but you do a brilliant job in the book of unpacking it and making it as simple as possible, is crafting your obvious offer. And some people call this, this is your Cinderella offer. This is the magic slipper. This is the compelling offer. This is the offer that they would feel stupid saying no to. All these books use these different labels. What's your definition of an obvious offer, and why is it so powerful?
Well, that's a huge question, and I struggled with how far do I go in this, or how little do I say about it. And so you may have noticed I don't really go about saying, here's how you craft an offer. I talk about the market research you need to do to really be in that place that speaks to your audience. And I'm painfully aware of it because I didn't do it in my first business, along with many other things I talk about. So there's the market research, and then so you craft your offer, and there's very little in the chapter about how to craft it. You just put a one page together, because that's not the key important piece of it. The important things are the market research and then the testing. That's why I call it the Cinderella test, because you can create all kinds of different offers, but the dangers are in falling into a number of mistakes about that offer.
Yeah.
And so the Cinderella test helps you to talk about what is the scope. We usually put too much in our courses. What is the exact transformation? What will they be able to do after? And there's different levels of that. So that's sort of the approach I took for that chapter.
Well, and you also, I mean, this sounds simple, but I know that 90% of my clients don't do it. Market research, talk to people. Talk to people in your target market. You're not pitching them. You're not selling them. You're literally finding out what they want, what they need, what they're wrestling with. And you have a brilliant, I must say, a brilliant 5.5 question interview process that if people, my guess is if people talk to 20, maybe 20 is too many, but if they talk to 20 people over the course of the next couple of weeks using your 5 questions that are in the book, they would know exactly and precisely what their irresistible Cinderella offer should be. Would you agree?
I would agree. And the other thing I would say is, like, with a lot of resistance that people have to market research, all your conversations are market research. And when you combine the chapter that has this, so 7, 8, and you combine it with chapter 10, which is about the sales conversation, that's where I think I say something a little bit different than most people, is that all your conversations can use those 5 points.
Yes.
And when you are basically doing market research all day long, every time you talk to someone, so you don't need to go and do market research like a project. Yes, you can do that. But basically, all your conversations are market research. And when you start to put on that hat, all of a sudden you notice these things people say, and it's just a way of having that hook in your head. So when every time somebody says something that's going to be useful in your market research, you go, oh, that's something I need to write it down, right?
Yes, absolutely. No, I love that frame of every conversation is market research. Holy smokes, so much value in this episode. Listen, if you are loving what you're hearing, feel free to download, subscribe, tell a friend, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to The Selling Show. Now, back to the interview. And you know, most people, prospects, non-prospects, but people who you want to serve, people in this community that you're building, if you listen, it is truly my belief that they will tell you what problems they want to solve. They will tell you how they want them solved, right? Coaching, consulting, digital course, mastermind, membership community, whatever it is. But you need to listen. You need to listen with that filter turned on all the time. And if you follow Sophie's advice that she just shared, where every conversation is a research conversation, you will accelerate your learning and you're doing so fast, I think your head would spin. Let's talk about some of the obstacles, because you mentioned the sales conversation that you mentioned in some of the later chapters. And I love the way that you talk about it, which is it's really a coaching conversation. It's not even a sales conversation. We are coaching people to avail themselves of the help that is available to them. But let's talk about some of the obstacles. Sometimes people come to us with false beliefs. I sometimes say they're self-soothing delusions, they're self-limiting beliefs, or they're just myths that have been reinforced by bad experiences they've had in the past.
Yep.
Talk about belief change and the belief elevator concept that's in your book.
I talk about different kinds of obstacles that are in our way, or in our prospects' way, really, as they are thinking or not even realizing the problem they have. So I've taken Eugene Schwartz's awareness, journey, and I've simplified it so we can all use it more easily. And for solopreneurs, it's a little different anyway. So it was really written back in the day in the 50s for advertising, right? So it's not. And when you go back to the unaware population, it's really interesting for the prospects to dig into what is it that your prospect, it's getting a little meta, but what is it that your prospect is not seeing about their own situations? Because how many times you come across someone and we can see they have a problem, but they are so oblivious to it, it blows our mind, right? So what is missing for them? And that's where a lot of marketing falls flat, is we don't address that. And you can see a marketing message for a million years and still not know it applies to you because people are not talking about it. So what is the information they need? What are they missing? What's the connection between their experience, whatever that is, and the problem? And what are the beliefs that they have? And there can be beliefs about themselves, beliefs about what the situation should be, or, all these things. It's very intertwined.
Yeah.
And going deep into that's where all conversations can really help with that, is understand those beliefs so you can then change them with your content.
Absolutely. As I was getting deeper and deeper into the book, I was getting more and more excited, because these are some of these are concepts that I deeply believe in. Some of these are, for me, and some of these are new concepts that I never thought of in the brilliant way that you've put into the book. And then there's a third category where I'm just looking at the concept and pumping my fists and going, yes, 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 preach it, Sophie. This is how it needs to be done. And one of my fist pumping moments was when you talk about the clarity formula around sales conversations. And you break it down so brilliantly. Here's what needs to happen before the conversation for the prospect, or here's what you need to provide to the prospect before they talk to you. Here's how you need to conduct that coaching / conversion conversation. And then here's what you do after. Everyone thinks that the sales call or the conversion call or the coaching call, and I love how we're interchanging those, because I totally believe that a powerful sales conversation is a powerful coaching conversation. Everyone thinks that starts with, hello, nice to talk to you. Tell me about your business. That is not where it starts. How they come on the call, what they've seen, what they've experienced, what they've absorbed, what they know about you. Like you said a moment ago, well, what they know about who you are and what you stand for. That is critically important. And then the way you conduct the call, and then what happens after. Do a little quick breakdown for us, Sophie, of the essentials of the before and the during and the after that's in the clarity formula for the calls.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I think is really important before I answer that is the labeling. And I know it sounds like terminology, but we're talking about a clarity call, right? And as I said before, all conversations are market research. And I think all conversations are sales conversations, or better said, no conversations are sales conversations, right? I prefer to label it that way. So all your conversations could lead to a sale. So you could have a networking call, and that's actually getting into the before, right? So
sure.
There could be networking conversations. There could be you're in a workshop with people, a webinar where you have the ability to chat, and somebody asks a question, you answer, you make a connection in the chat. Somebody says, you say, book a call and I'll help you with that thing, right? So you're answering questions.
Yeah.
These are all the different situations in which you can get into a conversation. And any conversation can lead to a sale. But the point is, in the conversation, you ask these questions, and the key to it all is you detach. There is no outcome. Well, there's no sales outcome. The outcome is always, always, always to help the person, to have the person leave the call with, I know the word value has been overused, but with some answers, with some help, with mostly some clarity. Clarity
Yeah.
is the most precious thing we can offer anyone. And because of the distance between ourselves and them, we can bring them this clarity. How many times, like I said, you see someone and you could see clearly something they're not seeing, right? So this clarity is the gift you can give them. And if you're completely detached from the outcome, is when you're able to best help.
Yes.
And then the after is basically following up, and you follow up with, uh, there was some advice we talked about. Did you have any trouble implementing it? Would you like to get on another call? What came out of what you did? Just following up like you would with another human. It's amazing how much of this boils down to just being a good human.
Oh my gosh. 1,000%. 1,000%. You put something in this chapter that on this, which I totally agree with, by the way, but it would be somewhat controversial to people just taking it as a sentence in a book. It is the following. You are not going to bring up your offers unless they ask. So you are going to have this helping call. You're going to share insights. And you are not going to pitch anything. You are not going to offer anything. You are not going to close anything. If the person does not ask about working with you, you will not bring it up. Talk to me.
I know. Yeah, and some people probably read this and go, "Oh, put this book in the bin." Um, I mean, honestly, if you've done all the things that we talk about, so you've done the marketing, you've done the belief change, somebody has come to you. Okay, let's do the journey. Somebody sees a post and they're like, "Oh, I never thought of it that way. You mean this thing that I'm experiencing is a thing? It exists. It's like other people have it."
Yeah.
That's one of the beliefs, like nobody else has this problem. Oh, okay. Then they see another post and they go, oh, so this is actually fixable. I mean, I don't have to live with this. Okay. Oh, I tried this, didn't work. I tried that, it didn't work. Wait a minute. David knows what he's talking about. He's been posting about this. Let me see what else he has. You go to this website and you find all these testimonials. You find this, you find that. You download the thing. You go through it, and it helps you, but you're not quite there. And then finally, you book a call. Is this person who gets on the call with you not going to ask you what it's like to work with you, especially after you've had a whole conversation where you've even helped them further all the content already? So if they don't bring it up, it's because there's some disconnect, there's something that's not working. They're going to bring it up.
Yes. So you're echoing a philosophy that one of my early mentors shared. He said, David, people are smart. They know what you do for a living. They know that there are services, there are products, there are programs that they can buy from you. You don't need to push, right? People are smart. They will ask. Now, sometimes and I'd love your advice on this or feedback. When I'm in a conversation, I am as helpful as I can be, as generous as I can be in that 30 or 45-minute time frame. If I get my spidey senses, my intuition says, this person might be a great person to work with, and they haven't asked about what it's like to work with me, or, they haven't even hinted at that question. About 5 minutes before our end time, I will sometimes say, well, I just want to make sure that you're getting everything you need out of this call. What other questions do you have?
Mm-hmm.
And when I ask, what other questions do you have, there is sometimes an awkward pause, and they will say, well, how do I work with you? You haven't said anything. I don't know about your programs. I don't know about your coaching. I don't know about your consulting. I don't know about your financial planning services. At that point, do you extend the call, or do you invite them to book a separate and discrete call where we can talk about some formal ways to engage with our services?
Yeah, so that's a very good point. I it depends, if they have a little extra, I don't have like a set formula. If they have a little extra time, I have a little extra time too, and I feel that a little extra is all we need.
Yeah.
I'll go for it. I'll say, well, there's this, there's that. We can talk about it more.
Yeah.
So that'll depend on the situation. But also in that conversation, you want to, when you're giving value and explaining, giving clarity, you can also drop hints like, oh, this sounds just like this client I had, or this is the kind of question that I like asking in my work with my clients. So you gotta drop the hints, and like you said, people are smart, they'll get it, and then they'll ask the question. And I like that you said people are smart. I think a lot of marketers seem to somehow, probably, I hope subconsciously, assume that people are dumb. I mean, a lot of the marketing out there, when you look at it, it's like, well, it seems to be created and crafted for dummies.
Yes.
When you trust that people are bright enough, it makes a big difference.
I'm in the process of taking screenshots on my computer and on my phone of ridiculous, overblown offers. So this is a real-time thing, Sophie. I'll share it with you just because you brought this up. I took a screenshot this morning. This is an Instagram ad, Facebook ad. It literally says the following: how to become the most in-demand speaker in your industry and command 25K speaking fees in less than 24 hours. And I'm looking at this going, I have clients and friends that it took them 25 years to work up to a 25K speaking fee. Even if you're on the fast track, 5 years, 10 years, not 24 hours, not 24 hours. But again, that is classic marketing for stupid people, right? That is like, oh, give me the easy button. Give me the magic beans. There are no magic beans.
Yeah, it's like worth $4,500, $4,597. Get it now for $27.
Right, exactly right.
Okay.
So I know that we just scratched the surface. We could talk for hours and hours, and I'd love to have you back on the show as well. Right now, I know people want to get connected and stay connected to more Sophie Lechner brilliance. Where can we send people? What links can we put in the show notes?
Okay, so I'm on LinkedIn, Sophie Lechner. My company name is The Magnet Model, and my website is themagnetmodel.com. And if you want to get your early copy of the book before it comes out in March, you can go to themagnetmodel.com/book, and you'll sign up for the launch team, which means you'll get the copy right away in PDF form. And I will invite you to kindly send me post a review as, a fair review of what your thoughts on the book.
Absolutely. And you're also planning all kinds of goodies and some bonus training for the launch team. And I also am on the launch team, full disclosure. So I am excited to get my hands on all of the companion tools and resources that you have planned. And it really, really is a great book. I don't bring people on and pitch their books for no reason. It is really, it is a breakthrough, brilliant book, especially for people who hate marketing and who hate selling. And this is the book you've been waiting for. So Sophie, you're a rock star. I appreciate you. Thank you for being on with us.
Thank you so much for having me, David. It's been a fun chatting.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.